Hi guys, okay, so this is the video for lesson 3, the mini lesson 3 review. Today is all about the word problem that is in section 4.4. Think about going back to class, like the last day I saw you guys was an A-Day, so I did teach this to the A-Day kids. B-Day kids, this would have been the lesson on Monday, so I did teach it to half of you guys, or the most of you guys. This is a review of that lesson or just a quick lesson for B-Day people. And the practice is the 4 problems on a worksheet. So A-Day kids, you guys got that worksheet. That was like your homework. And then I also have 6 problems on an interactive website. Okay, so this is a concept to do with a word problem that I'm going to do like one version of this word problem, and it revolves around making this chart. So if you are reading a word problem, like you might be setting up a similar chart, but you might be given different information. So you really have to think to do these word problems. I'm saying this because the word problems in the practice aren't exactly like the one that I'm going to go through right now. They're a little bit different depending on the information they give you, okay? So you guys are fully capable of doing all of these problems, and I know you guys can do it, but just understand, like, they're going to be a little bit different than the one that I'm going to walk through right now. Okay, so this is the one that we're going to take a look at here. It says, and it's in Pearson, Leah drives her car to the mechanic. Then she takes the commuter rail train back to her neighborhood. The average speed for the 10-mile trip is 15 miles per hour faster on the train. Find an expression for Leah's total travel time. And then also, if she drove 30 miles per hour, how long will her trip in total be? Okay, so there's 3 things that we're working with here. The 3 things are distance, rate, and time. And we want to set it up so there's an equation, right? There's an equation that we have to do that relates all 3 of these different variables. Anybody know what that equation is? It is distance equals rate times time. Okay, so this is a very well-known equation. You might have used it in science, but make sure we know this little mini equation. The 2 things that we're talking about here are the time on the car and the time on the train. Okay, right? And the distance, the rates, those are the 2 different ways we're looking at these 3 variables. So this is the chart we want to make. This is a good way to organize the information. Think back to SATs. There's tons of word problems. We need to first organize everything they told us, right? I'm not going to do any math before I realize and pull out the key information. So my distance, the key information there was, it was a 10-mile trip, right? So, and that's 10 miles one way. So 10 miles in the car, 10 miles in the train. What's another piece of information they told us? They told us that, this is really important right here, 15 miles per hour faster on the train, okay? So if I'm 15 miles per hour, that's my rate, right? Miles per hour is a rate. So if whatever I am in my car, I am 15 miles per hour faster on the train. So we set it up like this, right? I don't know what my rate is just yet. And whatever it is going to be in the car, train goes faster. So I'm going to add 15. My time, well, that's what I'm trying to figure out, right? How long was this total trip? So I'm going to leave it with T. They did give us one more piece of information. That piece of information was that if she drove 30 miles per hour, so I can come back through here and say that, okay, my rate is 30. Okay, so if my rate is 30, what's my rate on the train? That'll be 45, right? Okay, so far I haven't done any math besides add 30 plus 15. I've just pulled out the information. From there, I want to create 2 equations. And those 2 equations are from this distance equals rate times time formula. I want to create an equation for my car, and I want to create an equation for my train. And what that's going to be is going to go straight across. It's going to say it's going to say 10 equals 30 times time, right? My distance equals my rate times time for the car. And then again, 10 is my distance equals my rate, which is 45 times t. So I've just created these two equations, and I'm going to go through and solve them for t. Okay, so if I solve this first one for t, well, if I could do them both, right? I would divide both sides by 30. Divide by 30. Divide by 30. On the other side, on this guy, I would divide by 45, right? So then I get t alone. I want to simplify those two fractions, right? So 10 over 30, that's going to leave me with 1/3. 10 over 45, that's going to leave me with 2/9, right? So I simplify those fractions. The question was, how long was the total trip? So what do I need to do to answer this question? If this is the time I was on the car, this is the t sub car, and this is the time I was on the train, how am I going to find the total time? Is by adding them, right? I need to add these two fractions. So I'm going to find my total time by adding 1/3 plus 2/9. In order to add two fractions, I need a common denominator, so I'm going to multiply this by 3. And this is how it ties into this section because we're adding fractions. So 1/3 times 3 on the numerator and the denominator gives me 3/9 plus 2/9 is 5/9 of an hour. But that's kind of bad math in a word problem, right? I can't really say, oh yeah, 5/9 of an hour, that's how long it took. Well, I can, but it doesn't really make sense. So I want to relate it to minutes. So I'm going to say 5/9 equals how many minutes? So x over 60. We're going to do something called cross multiplication. So 5 times 60 gives me 300. This is how we cross multiply. Equals x times 9 gives me 9x. And then I solve this little equation for x, and I get x equals about 33 minutes. Okay, and that's how long she was on the trip. Okay, guys, so like I said, the information that we got here, we got the distance and information about the rate. We did not know anything about the time. Is going to vary each time. So use this chart to help you figure out the problems that are in the practice section, and just focus on setting up that chart and then going straight across to write these little equations, solving for what you need to know. The other thing that I'm providing you guys with in this section, let me go to, is if you go to the understand, I'm also providing you guys extra resources, so use these resources for help as well, because like I said, I just went through one type of problem with distance, rate, and time word problems. There's other types, and these two links help you go through other versions of this type of problem. Okay? Great job, guys. Enjoy!